And Margaret, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. So my name is Margaret McKenzie, and I am in Winnipeg, and I work for MFRC Prince Edward Island, and I co-facilitate the Live to Virtual program with Joanna. And thrilled to be here to work with this dynamic duo.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Margaret. All right, I believe everybody has introduced themselves, and now we can go on to the next slide. In a live classroom, the ground rules may include...
Barbara, you're muted. I promise everybody it's not normal.
I think the technical difficulties have thrown us for a loop. All right, let's start again. In a live classroom, the ground rules may include where to go to smoke, or where the washrooms are, or where you can park your car. But in a virtual classroom, it's a bit different, and there are a few ground rules that we'd like to go over to establish the mood of the session from the get-go. So could I have a volunteer? You can use that little hand to read out these ground rules. Any volunteers? Mike, great.
I used
Mike,
the wrong hand.
You clapped, that's great. Okay.
All right.
You go ahead.
Okay, to log in 10 minutes prior to the session, turn off email and other distractions, to participate in the discussion, to fill in the evaluation form with feedback, bring your sense of adventure.
Okay, great, Mike, thanks. And thank you all for signing in a few minutes early. As you can see, the 10 minutes gives the participants a chance to troubleshoot any login issues. And I promise you, Carol and I signed in a half hour early, and everything was working fine right up until 1 o'clock. Anyway, so we also ask you to turn off your email and any other distractions like your cell phone, or at least put your cell phone away. And most importantly, bring your sense of adventure and fun. And so let's get into a short tour of the virtual tools that you'll be using. So the participant panel is located on the top right-hand side of the WebEx screen. In this box, you'll see a list of names showing the host and presenter as well as the attendees. Participants themselves can mute or unmute themselves. You guys have already figured that out. And you've already figured out to left-click on the microphone to unmute yourself. And below the participant panel, I think you've figured out this already, are tools to engage, and those are called emoticons. And I think you're probably okay with that as well, but I'll just quickly go over. Each emoticon is a toggle, so you can left-click on it once to activate and once to put it away. So let's just practice a little bit. Can everybody give me a green check? Jason, can you give me a green check? Great. And it looks like Margaret's away for a bit. Okay. So finally, you'll see the smiley emoticons. Beside the smiley emoticon, you'll see a black arrow. This arrow is in many of the tools. It's called a drop-down menu. A drop-down menu tells you that there is a choice. So if you click on that little drop-down menu beside the smiley emoticon, you'll see a choice. So we ask you to use the coffee cup every time you leave the session, and that's just so that we make sure that you're not having technical difficulties and you are maybe just going to get a glass of water or something. So play a bit with those that little drop-down menu. You can get the little sleeping face, the standing ovation. All right. I think you're quite comfortable with those tools. Now I'd like you to look in the lower right corner of the monitor. The chat feature is another tool we use, and I believe everybody's fine with that as well because you've all been using the chat feature already. Okay, so since we've lost a little time, let's move on to another set of tools. And those are our whiteboard tools. So Carol's going to write on here for us the 3 most important things about using the tools. You have to remember to click away so that we see what you've written or see what you've done. Change color if you need to, because maybe you've been assigned yellow and we can't see yellow very well. And if you want to move to the next line, just press enter. So those are 3 things you need to remember. So if we go to the top left corner, you'll see the big thick arrow. That's called a pointer. So click on the pointer to claim a spot on the whiteboard. Can everybody do that? Great. Super. Okay, everybody's done that. To the right of the pointer icon is the letter T. That's your text tool. There are a few points for you to know about the text tool. First, for everyone to be able to see what you've written, you need to actually click away, like I said. Then to the right of the toolbar, you'll see that you can change the color of the font. You can click on the drop-down menu beside the color box. Another point is that when you come to the end of a line, you can press enter to go to the next line. So let's test it out. Would everybody like to try to write something? Oh, great. Oh, some people are getting fancy. Okay, who's got the yellow? Mike, was that you with the yellow? No, you should have the turquoise.
I think he was being funny and switched his colors.
Oh, yeah, he was going to give us trouble today. We'll have to keep an eye on him, so to speak, a virtual eye on him. Okay, as we move to the right in the toolbar, you can see that you also can make lines and arrows. To the right of the lines, you'll find a box to encase and mark on the facilitator's presentation. Okay, and to the right of that icon, you will find a marker and a pencil. I invite you to quickly click on a couple of tools and mark on the slides. So I think everybody's messing up the slide. And finally, you can erase any and all of the notations using the eraser. Go ahead and erase anything you have marked. So can everybody erase what they've done? Okay, great. So any questions with the whiteboard tools? Can everybody give me a green check if they're good to go? Great. Okay. So the next thing we'd like to do is get you more familiar with one another and also to continue having fun with the whiteboard tools. So here's an example of an icebreaker activity that you could use yourself in your next virtual session. So this is like a little virtual name tag. We're going to assign each of you a name tag. And using the whiteboard tools, you're going to fill out the name tag by doing the following. So of course, you're going to print your name beside my name is. And then you're going to draw your favorite place that you like to be. Use the tools and get creative. And then in the top right corner of the name tag, if you can write 3 adjectives that describe your job and be prepared to explain. And then in the lower right corner of the name tag, if you can write an example of how you best like to learn and an example how you least like learning. So I'm going to assign Jason name tag number 1.
So let's pause for 1 second. Can you click on the name tag tab at the top? Perfect. We can all see.
Right, and I forgot to tell you where you get your name tag. That's right, yeah.
Okay, and just explain where they find that number.
Yeah, so if everybody sees in the toolbar, there's like a white rectangle just below the name tag title, or sorry, the name tag, oh, what do you call that? Tab. And you'll see the number 1. You can change that number with the little drop-down arrow and get the slide number that's been assigned to you. So Jason, you're number 1, Francis number 2, Margaret can be Mike can be number 3, and Margaret can be number 4. So if everybody's ready, we'll give you 3 minutes to complete your virtual name tag. If you finish earlier, can everybody just give me a green check mark when you finish your name tag? Okay? Is everybody good to go? All right, go ahead.
And if you had any trouble finding your name tag, just raise your hand and let us know.
Okay, you've got about another minute to finish your name tag. So it looks like France is finished and Mike is finished and Margaret's finished. We just heard Jason laughed in the office next door, so maybe Jason doesn't like to draw.
We're watching you, Jason.
Under pressure. We'll give you a few more minutes. Or sorry, a few more. We'll give you about 30 more seconds, Jason. Sorry, I can't help laughing here. Well, we're supposed to be having fun, right?
That's exactly right.
It's just fun watching Jason draw here. The rest of you can't see, but
you will see.
Yeah. Okay, it looks like Mr. Barr is finished. Jason, can you give us a green check? Super. All right. Would anyone like to volunteer to present their name tag? Just raise your hand if you'd like to go first. Ah, Mike.
So Barb, you'll have to click on his name tag so we can all see it. Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cute. Okay, Mike, if you want to explain your name tag. Your name.
So my favorite place to be is at home. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I said my job is meaningful and fun.
Oh, that's good.
So like meaningful and like I'm not just working to make some guy lots of money, right?
Right.
I like to learn by reading mostly. I read and doing things. I don't like to learn in lectures. It just goes in one ear and out the other, basically.
Okay, great. That's wonderful, Donald Trump. That's what I'll be calling. I'm not voting for you, that's for sure. Okay, thank you. And who would like to go second? Just raise your hand. Great. Margaret?
All right, so I'm number 4.
Right.
My name is Margaret. This is me walking Sadie. That's my favorite place to be on a trail with lots of trees.
I got that. I thought you were climbing a tree there, but
anything's possible.
Right.
I thought it was like a luge or something.
Well, she is in Winnipeg, so.
There you go, anything's possible. So 3 adjectives to describe my job would be energizing, educational, exhilarating.
Oh, wonderful.
And how I like to learn, kinesthetically, hands-on. How I do not like to learn, do not give me directions to read.
Okay. Great. Okay, thank you for sharing. And Jason, would you like to go next?
Sure, that'd be great. So the 3 adjectives, hello everyone, my name is Jason Barb. 3 adjectives to describe my job. I think we're innovative. Every day seems to be a different job right now, just the way we're developing. And then just really lucky to be around an amazing team. So that's kind of cool for us. How I like to learn, blended at the point of need, collaboratively, love working with other people, want to be challenged, and job-based is a big thing for me. And then it was kind of funny because I was just typed under pressure, and then everyone was saying, "Okay, everyone else is done with Jason. How about you?" And
I know.
so I couldn't have been a more perfect timing. A favorite place to learn, would love to be out in the lawn chair or somewhere sunny and being able to still be able to learn in that environment. So hopefully this is something we can do it someday. So let's see.
You mean you even want to learn while you're relaxing? Your brain doesn't shut off?
That's what you, I think. Anyways, I'll leave it there.
I thought you were canoeing there for a sec, but that's your lawn chair. Okay.
Yes, my lawn chair, yeah.
Jason, I really like that you describe your job as having an amazing team.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And France, last but not least, and I love your drawing. So, France, if you'd like to explain, that'd be great.
It's the luge.
No, not quite. Now here's the fun part. I actually did not put my name. Look at that.
Oh, that's okay.
So my name is FJ or France or José or France José, or they like the military does, Marie-France José. I've got like multiple names. My favorite place to be is the bathtub. I have an chic lined feet cloth bathtub, and yeah, I spent an hour sleeping in it last night. So that's my favorite place to be, where I can close the door and not hear anybody and just having nice, really hot, on-demand water. So my favorite place. 2 adjectives that describes my job. Oh my God, exciting, challenging, rewarding. It's one of a kind job, I think, in the military, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in the right place. It seems to be that right place at the right time in my life right now, and it's I really enjoy the people that I work with. I have a great team, and yeah, it's fun.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
yeah, it's really nice to feel that way every day. It's nice to drive to work and feel like, okay, what's going to be new today? Because like Jason said, it's like there's something new every day, and it's very, very true. So I really enjoy that. I need to constantly be challenged. So that's who I am. Anyway, the way I like to learn is visual and so on. I do not like to read, or write actually. And yeah, I'm a TDO, so I have to read and write a lot. Anyway,
you have to take.
Must be wise.
Okay, great. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. And I hope you got to know more about each other, and you had a chance to try some of the tools. And I love that bathtub, France. That's great. Okay, so let's continue on.
Just don't sink below the water line.
Yeah.
The fun part about it was they're so old that you'd sink in it. Like the old bathtub.
Okay. Now we're going to get your ideas of what blended learning is. So we've reviewed some of the tools and a virtual programming, and now we'd like to get your thoughts on blended learning. So can everyone claim a row on the table with your arrow key, your pointer key, or your pointer tool, sorry. So can everybody, yeah, just move your pointer more towards the right so we can all see. Jason, can you move it more towards the right?
I think
yeah.
Jason's racing Mike.
Okay, great. So everybody's got a row. So using your text tool, can you write down any ideas or thoughts you have on blended learning? And give me a green check when you're finished. We'll give you about a minute. So go ahead. Don't forget to click away after you've written something. And can you give me a green check when you're finished? Mike, don't forget to click away so we can see. Oh, great. Okay. And Mike, are you finished? Okay, super. All right. France, can you just explain what your thoughts on blended learning are?
Blended learning for me is I can learn by using videos, looking, trying, hands-on. In other words, when somebody delivers training or somebody delivers wants me to learn something, I want to be able to try different angles and different ways of trying to learn. So I can't just be reading because I will forget everything. So
Right.
For me, it has to be hands-on and video and listening and auditive. So for me, blended learning, and it can be like online. It can be so there's various method of learning.
Multiple delivery methods. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And that's okay. And Jason?
So I just basically look at it as being the different ways, methods or delivery or media that you're using multiple forms. It can be that it's using in a classroom the various forms of instructional methods. It could be, as FJ mentioned, in different delivery environments, or it could be using different types of media, but it's the blend somewhere in those mixes that provides you that.
Okay, wonderful. And Mike?
So I got maybe a different perspective because I'm not a teacher of any sort. I like blended learning because it's more inclusive for all the students that have different learning styles. There's a lot of different ways to learn.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you are a good teacher because you instruct me occasionally in articulate storyline. So you do instruct very well. And Margaret?
Mike is an excellent teacher.
What is articulate storyline?
Oh, it's a software to develop online learning. It's an e-learning software. Yeah, it is pretty neat.
Very cool. Yeah, so my idea of blended learning, it's great to bring variety, just like Mike said, Jason said, I think, for different types of learning styles. It gives the responsibility also to the participants because not everything is going to be in the one classroom, so they're going to have to do some asynchronous work to keep up and learn themselves.
Excellent. That's true. And it looks like Joanna, did you want to speak to what you wrote?
Sure. I just was saying I find it very engaging and innovative, and I like innovation, and I just feel like it really hits all the different learning styles. Something in a blended learning program should pique your learning style.
Right, so it hits on lots of preferences to learning for everyone. Thank you, that's great. Maybe we can finish our presentation now because you all know what blended learning is about, and we don't have to go forward. Anyway.
It's our job.
That's true, right. Okay, so now we're going to look at just a couple of more formal definitions. And blended learning is a term that's quite often used a little loosely amongst learning professionals and sometimes misunderstood among others. Most often it is thought of as being as just one topic that's offered up in a variety of different ways. So let's look at this formal definition, or these formal definitions. So I'll give you all just a few seconds to read it quietly yourselves. Just give me a green check when you've finished. Okay, so maybe Mike, could you read the first definition for us where you see the red arrow?
Sure. So using the best delivery methodologies available for a specific objective, including online classroom-based instruction, electronic performance support, paper-based, and formalized or informal on-the-job solutions.
Right. Thank you.
No problem.
So you can see it's finding the best methodology for a specific learning objective, not just here's your list of learning objectives and we're going to offer 10 different methodologies. No, it's what's the best fit for that particular learning objective. And could someone read the second definition? Do we have a volunteer?
Sure.
Frost, go ahead.
An educational program in which student learns, at least in part, through delivery of content and instruction via digital and online media, with some element of student control over time, place, path, or space. I'm not sure if I agree with all that one.
So now that you can see blended learning includes the use of digital and online media and giving some element of control over to the student. That's really important. So I'll just read the last part. So blended learning 2.0 includes mobile learning, gamification, job aids such as interactive PDFs, and a really important one that's been taking off over the last probably, I don't know, maybe 5 years, is the use of social media in both online and instructor-led training. Okay, now we're going to practice what we've been talking about. So we're going to go a little deeper into what blended learning is by filling out this framework. This framework explains all the components of blended learning and gives examples of each. At the top of the Post-it notes, you see the word synchronous and asynchronous. And if we can have a little arrow. Yeah, great, thank you. And I'm sure all of you know the meaning of this, but simply put, when applied to learning, synchronous means working together at the same time. And of course, asynchronous is the opposite, means there's some type of time lag with communication amongst learners. On the left, you can see the word space, and this refers to where the learning takes place, where the learning takes place. And at the bottom, you can see the word time, and this refers to when the learning takes place, either synchronous or asynchronous. And also please note the words same and different for each of space and time. So it's a little confusing at first, but I'll just go through and explain with a couple of the examples. So if we go up to the top left corner in the top left Post-it note, you see the word audio conference. So this means that the methodology for learning takes place synchronously for learners who are in different locations. So that's same time, different place. So who's producing for me now? Is it Margaret or Joanna? Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
oh, we've got.
I don't know who else is doing that, but don't. I got it. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thanks, Joanna. So in that quadrant, it's same time, different place. If you move over to the right, you see pre-work assignment. Now, all of you had just a pre-work assignment of an article to read, plus some brainstorming with yourself on learning. So that is different times. You obviously all did it at different times, and you did it in different locations. So different time and different place. Thank you. Now, could someone explain slide presentation? Jason, maybe? If you could just explain it in reference to space and time being the same or different for the learner.
So if we're doing a slide presentation in a face-to-face environment, then it would be the same space, and also it would be synchronous because everyone is there at the same time. So it would be same time, same space.
Excellent. And a library, not libraries, but just one library. And Margaret, if you wanted to try that one.
Yep, so that would be something that you would do on your own probably.
Yeah.
So it would be different time, different place.
Well, if it's
the same place, it's the library.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. So different time, but
same place.
Same place. Excellent. Okay, now I'd like each of you, if you see on the right, it's like a small table with different learning methodologies. If everybody could take their pointer tool and claim one of the 4 rows. Okay. And Franz and Mike, if you can take the other 2. Super. Mike? Did we lose Mike? Oh, no. Mike, are you still with us? Mike, can you hear us? Looks like maybe we've lost Mike for some reason.
If you can hear us, you can just use the chat function to let us know that you can at least.
Sorry, I'm back.
Oh, okay. Okay, Mike, you can claim the top row on that table on the right. Just use your pointer tool. Super. Now, if everybody can look at the 2 to 3 examples they have in their row, and using the line arrow function in your toolbar, can you match your particular example with the correct quadrant of the framework? And I'll give you just a minute or so to complete that, and just give me a green check when you're done.
You can use your line tool or you can use an arrow tool. And let us know if you're struggling to figure that out. I just like how colorful it gets.
Okay, I'll just give you another minute. And again, give me a green check when you're finished.
I like how it's not just one answer.
Mike, are you okay with
how you do it.
Mike, are you still with us?
Yeah, sorry, I'm right here. I'm working on it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Same time, same place.
It's now become a very busy looking slide. Looks like a spider web. Okay, I think it looks like we are finished. Super. Okay, let's go from the bottom up. So Margaret, if you could explain your 3 examples.
Okay, so when I first started, I said, oh, it's obviously different time, same place. And then I said, no, wait a minute, because you can share all the websites, the blogs in a virtual classroom, so everybody can do it at the same time, and it could be at the same place as well. Or you can also have it the same time, different place. You could ask people to look at different websites while you're in one class and then come back and report.
Yes, that's true too. But if you have to consider that where the learner is, right? So even if you did the website virtually, the learners are going to be in a different space, correct?
Very true, yes.
Yeah. So it's where the learner is. So usually it's different time and different space, but you did bring up some good points. Okay, and then the next one, the shared online workspace.
Oh, I took it all together.
Oh, Okay, so where did you put a flip chart and whiteboard then?
Okay, so I put it all like as web. See, I'm not very good at reading. I told you that beforehand. So websites is what I thought. I didn't read the flip chart and whiteboard. So a flip chart and whiteboard would probably go to, you would do that the same time in the same place because you're showing, the information.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you. And Franz, can you do your 3 examples? Actually, you've got 4. Sorry, you've got 4.
Okay, the online group discussion, that can be anything from asynchronous, from the, same time, different place, and it could be slide presentation as well. The group facilitated process, now that one can be same thing, synchronous and time. It can be the same place though, and it can be slide presentation. It can be just oral as well, so it could be synchronous for sure. And the self-paced e-learning, I separated the self-paced and e-learning because that's not, e-learning does not mean self-paced. So self-paced is definitely asynchronous, and that'd be different place, different time. It can be library as well. But the e-learning can be all of those. E-learning can be all those. Yep.
Yeah, no, I was just going to, sorry to interrupt. This just takes me back to when my teaching days and as an instructor with adults. And when you do an activity for the first time with a new group, it's amazing how the brain works and how each individual will perceive an activity. You will come up with an infinitesimal amount of answers, and you can never predict. And that's what you guys are doing. You're putting these into different spots, but you are you're supporting your answers, so they're acceptable. But adults are unpredictable, as children are, I'm sure. Okay. And,
I thought it was just me that was unpredictable.
No, this is just typical of adults. Jason, did you want to go through your examples?
Sure. So with Smartboard, initially my first instinct was that in the classroom using the Smartboard, but then I thought the fact that we use one of our tools is actually built by Smartboard, which is the See and Share platform. So again, it really could be on both the classroom same, and then also with the different and same time, but both having a synchronous element to it. The email and e-newsletter, seeing that as being more distributed to people, so saw that as being more asynchronous and different place. The virtual classroom, because of the word virtual, that made me think of again, typically using it as is being done today, providing the environment to be able to have same but different locations. And then recorded webinar, which could be actually a generation from a virtual classroom, is an asynchronous, different place and different time, being able to see it.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Mike. So posters and infographic posters? Yeah,
I put posters and infographic down at different times but the same place.
Okay, yep.
E-surveys and online polls I put asynchronous time and asynchronous place?
Usually the same location, but okay. And the next one?
Texting and instant messaging as well, asynchronous time and space.
Texting would be the same time, different space, because if it's, well, I guess if there's a time lag with the texting, yeah.
Yeah, because you can reply whenever you want, and you have persistent history, right? So.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So some of these are there's a little gray areas with them, and then the last one, the video conference.
That I put the same time, same place, but I guess you don't have to. As an individual, I guess you don't have to be in the same place.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe that should have been up.
Same time and synchronous but different space. Okay, great. Thank you for participating in that. You can see it, how many ways we can engage learners. So it's no longer just face-to-face with the teacher at the front lecturing. You can see we have lots to choose from when it comes to teaching and learning. Okay, and moving on. next I'd like to just go over, in case some of you are considering changing your face-to-face instruction or training to a blended learning solution. There's 6 main points you should consider. If everybody could claim one of the points with your pointer tool. Okay, great. So Margaret, can you read the first point and say a little bit about that? Yep.
So the key points to consider in designing blended learning, one is define your learning objective. So it's really important, I think, to have at least, not too many objectives for a 1-hour session, and so that you have a goal of what activities you can bring into the teaching to best reach those objectives.
Right. And it's really important to define your learning objectives clearly. So what exactly do you want the learner to know or to be able to do as a result of engaging in your learning activity? And just make sure you use a specific and measurable verb, not something like the learner will know, but maybe something more measurable like list or describe. France, know your audience?
List or describe, you say? I'm sorry, the question was how do you describe that?
No. You just put your arrow beside know your audience. Mm-hmm. That's another, do you have anything to add about knowing your audience when considering designing a blended learning solution?
Yes, it's very important to know your audience because you need to know where they're at and their knowledge and their level of participation and their interest into the subject. So it really affects how you're going to design and how you're going to approach. And this is one thing sometimes we often neglect, is knowing your audience. And it's something we really have to think of.
Okay, excellent points.
Starting point.
Yeah, excellent. And if I could just add, maybe even knowing their gender, their age, where they're located, their technological abilities, what software and equipment they have available. Yeah, but you came up with some good points. And Mike?
I don't really know what to say. I guess just communicate to your students. How are you going to blend the course, I guess?
Sure, yeah. And communicate the blends. That's usually done with a course map. It's like a flow chart. It's a nice visual way to quickly map out that blended learning path that the students will take. And we'll show you a couple of examples in a minute. And Jason?
So when I saw the personalized learning experience, and this is where I see the blended learning being really valuable, is that because you have the opportunity to take it out of the classroom setting into some individuals, either their workplace or being able to have it in the environment where they're going to be able to apply or transfer the learning. This is where you can actually think about how they're going to do that and help to personalize that learning experience. So it gives them kind of the best of both worlds.
Okay, great. And that connects right to real life scenarios. So maybe, for example, when you're personalizing your learning experience, you could add a place where the learner could put their name, and then of course you're using, where they work, and you can use real life examples from their workplace, and that's going to heighten their interest and increase motivation. And Joanna. Oh.
Did you want Carol to take the use real life scenario?
No, I already spoke on that.
Okay.
So Joanna, isn't it your arrow on?
Yes, sorry, I was just coughing a little.
Okay.
Pardon me. So I selected give opportunities for collaboration because it is important for your participants to buy into the process. And one of the ways to do that is to have them working together with each other.
Right, and giving them lots of opportunities for pair or small group, either virtually or face-to-face. Okay, great, thank you. So 6 key points to consider. So one of the points was to communicate the blend, and this is quite often done with a course map. And this is an example of one right in front of you, and this was a 2-day face-to-face course on organizational design changed into a 6-week blended learning process and or blended learning experience. And you can see that it includes pre-work, and they even did an online pre-module. They named it Module Zeros to make sure that all participants were familiar with the online tools. And also they included a social media site, LinkedIn, where participants could chat synchronously or asynchronously, discuss their homework or the topics that were brought up that day in class. And when they presented this, it was met with when they changed from the face-to-face to the blended learning, it was met with positive response from the learners. And they did various types of evaluation, and they discovered that the blended learning solution was just as rich and interactive as the 2-day face-to-face course. They just gave a warning, though, in their study, and to make sure that if you do this, that blended learning does take longer to develop, and especially if your online e-learning is quite interactive, it will take up to 4 times longer to put together an activity than it would in a face-to-face scenario. Okay, and then the next example is one that we put together ourselves, and this was originally a week-long face-to-face training at a simulation center, and they wanted to reduce the time that the participants were spending away from home, and that was costing the federal government more money, and this was changed into a 4-week blended learning solution that included a social media site that D&D uses. It's our learning portal. So they can go on with their cohort and discuss what they're learning, or get to know each other prior to the start of the blended learning course. And at the top you can see in the large white boxes, those are webinars, and the webinars they'll do with their cohort and a facilitator, and then they'll go off for a week and do a self-paced online module, and then they'll meet again the next week and start off with a webinar with a facilitator, and if they have any questions they can ask, and then they go off again for another week and do the second module, etc. for the 3rd webinar, and then they go to the Sim Center. They'll be much better prepared to do the activities in the simulation center. Before, they weren't prepared, and it took them about a week's worth of training to get while they were in the Sim Center. So now we're getting to halfway through, but we did start late. So I wonder, yeah, I think we have a little bit of time to do the case study. So we'll move on to that next. If I could get someone to read the scenario, maybe Jason, could you read the scenario at the top of the page?
Certainly can. So the scenario, at a large company, new employees are being trained on technical skills with paper-based manuals and a boring click next e-learning program. No one is using these resources. Instead, new people are going to experience staff for help. Resentment is growing amongst the staff because of the time it is taken to explain these skills, plus incorrect procedures are being passed on. All staff, including new hires, are issued a company smartphone. What could be a blended learning solution?
Great. Okay, thank you for reading that. If each of you could claim again a row on the table, and I'll give you about a minute to come up with a couple of blended solutions. Now, just think back of all the methodologies that we've gone through and the course maps that we just went through. and then think of this scenario. And I'll give you about a minute. You can use your text tool and type in on your row, and give me a green check when you're finished.
I'll give you about 30 more seconds. All right, Barb, as Mike and FJ are finishing up, if you want to start with Margaret.
Sure. Margaret, if you wanted to explain your two solutions.
Okay, so the mounds of paperwork, I must be in that class because I don't do mounds of paperwork and e-learning. I'd much rather ask somebody. So if it were me, I think an interactive virtual classroom with peers who can learn from one another and ask questions, because then you won't have the same question rather than doing it all by yourself. I think that would be a lot more effective.
Okay. That's great. Great example. And Jason?
So the first option I was thinking about was if you capture the proper procedures on video, but then also having job aids that link right beside it so that they know that they can always go back to the video, but they have a job aid that will help them when they're in those circumstances. And the other one was looking at a scenario-based set of activities that actually walk through various procedures with different fault lines so they can test them out and see if they're doing it correctly, and if not, what are some of the ramifications.
Okay, great. And Mike?
So I don't think I used the right terms because so my first solution, because it said in the case study that all new hires are issued a smartphone, so I thought a web-based solution which could be used from a phone, which was just organized by task, sort of like a cookbook. So, and then the other was a series of YouTube videos, but I think Jason explained that a little better than I did, because then again, from their phone, they could just focus on a task that they have to do right then and watch a little video on how to do it properly, and then away they go. That's
right. So they get the training just at the time of need. Okay, good point. And France?
Yeah. Well, I look at the course they were supposed to take, technical skills, which we don't know if it's learning to put a card together or if it's computer programming. So we don't know what type of technical skills. So I'm going to assume it was something to do with programming. So I would say that you could do e-learning course with interactive questions and exercise, and then you could have somebody to coach them as well for the second solution. Once you've learned a bit of the theory and you have a bit of practical, then you can have a coach, a coworker help you to learn the rest, or to make sure that you actually absorb the knowledge and that you can put it in practice and ask questions.
Okay, great. And Joanna, did you want to read out yours?
Sure, just saying one solution could be a smartphone app that they can go to that's sort of a fun game style to reinforce those issues they need to learn. And then also a single social media or intranet site for Q&As, but that's managed by a knowledgeable trainer and not just like random staff members.
Right. Okay, you've all brought up some excellent points. Now what I'm going to do is I'll read out the the solution that was offered to this company. But I think you've captured most of the points that they came up with. So instead of looking at learning as a single event pushed to workers at a designated time, learning was developed to be continuous and readily available at the time of need, especially when employees were on the floor when they needed the learning most. So the learning solution leveraged the fact that all employees actively used their company-provided smartphones. So everybody picked up on that. And it included a custom native app in addition to access online. It included job aids, checklists, infographics, which were focused on delivering resources rather than courses. They also included short, informal videos. I think that was suggested by you guys, including user-created videos, but they were all less than 90 seconds, and they focus on one technical solution or one task. The design solution was therefore learner-centered, creating easy-to-use tools that could be used in a short amount of time and at the time that they were needed. So, thank you for participating in the first half of our presentation. We got off to a technologically shaky start there, but hopefully the next half will go smoothly. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. So if you guys can come back at about 2:14, that would be great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
You can go ahead and advance the slide, Barbara, to the break slide. Wonderful. And go ahead and pass the ball to Carol.
Gladly.
You want to just try your Carol, do you want to just try your computer just for fun?
Oh, to go back to the headset?
I'm just wondering if you wanted to try without the headset maybe, or
okay, I'm just going to put the phone down. I'm not hanging up.
Okay.
Just a minute.
They're in the same room, so by unplugging the headset, they get too much feedback.
Ah.
Although, Barbara, if you'd be willing to, well, no, because if you want to produce, you might want to stay on the computer and have your hands free.
But if you're producing and not speaking, you can mute, and then as soon as the next person speaks, they can mute. So you can alternate muting.
There's actually not a lot of producing in the second half, so Carol could come over here and use my headset.
Yeah, I mean, if that works for you, if you don't mind, Carol might find it easier because it's what we practice. So
but then she maybe has, yeah, I can hear you now, yeah.
You can hear me, but I can only hear you because we're in the
Yeah, that's so weird that it just stopped like that right in the middle.
Yeah.
Well, let's figure it out quickly. So Barb, would you have the Jeopardy on your?
Yes, I think I do.
I need to go to the washroom, so.
Go right ahead, Carol. No problem. I would say if we want, what you'd have to do is just open the Jeopardy up and then minimize it.
Okay, I'm just wondering if I have her most. It's the Jeopardy PowerPoint, correct?
Yeah, I got it here. Let me just email it back to you. What email could I reach you at?
No, I've got it here. It's just the Blended Learning Jeopardy, right? The PowerPoint?
Yeah, exactly, you got it.
Okay, so you just want me to open it up.
You can open it up and minimize it. And then she can just share application and it'll be perfect. Okay. And that way she can be comfortable on the headset. And then do you want to go ahead and produce? Do you mind doing that with your phone or?
Yeah, actually, I'll move over to her laptop and, okay, so I've done that. So it's minimized down here. Okay, so she can take over with my headset. And, but the only thing is she's going to be Barbara Ireland, though.
That's okay. I think that it's a small enough group. We'll remember that.
So I'll have to give the ball.
Yeah.
No, she'll have to give the ball back to me.
I can just pass it back.
Carol, do you want to pass the ball back to me? But you're going to be, okay, there.
It's done. It's done.
It's done. So Carol, do you want to come over here?
Okay.
So Carol, we just we opened up your Jeopardy and it's minimized on this computer.
Hello.
Hey there. Good to hear your voice over the headset.
Except that now you think I'm Barbara Ireland.
That's okay. We know who you are. So, Barbara, you're going to have to mute that phone when she's talking, and then unmute if you do have something you'd like to share, just because we get feedback from the phone picking up the extra. Yeah, exactly. So we'll just, when everyone comes back, we'll just do a little, we'll just let them know that Barbara is really Carol. And she already opened up your Jeopardy game, and it's minimized at the bottom of the screen there.
Mm-hmm.
So just remember that to open it, it is share application.
Okay, so yeah, just let me review this. When are you there?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, when I want to share the Jeopardy game, I go to share, file it at share, share application.
Correct.
And the application is PowerPoint. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect, you got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's 2:14.
I know, yeah, it's a great job. Just so as people are back, give us a smiley face or a green check. Something to let us know. Something to let us know you have returned.
Oh, Barb, Jason sent you a private chat that I can read. But of course it's to you, so you won't see it on my laptop. It says, "Outstanding job, Ms. Ireland."
She did a great job. It's always hard to recoup when things don't go quite as well as planned at the beginning, but she did an excellent job. So wonderful.
I'm sorry about that. I don't know what that, I haven't had that problem before. Figures.
No worries. Yeah, maybe we'll try to figure it out after the fact.
Okay.
I think everybody's back.
Everybody's back. FJ, are you back with us too? All right. FJ, are you there? I don't think FJ has returned.
I don't think so.
Well, we are going to go ahead and move on just to keep on your timing.
Okay.
So for just a little note, production note here, where it says Barbara Ireland in the participant panel, that is actually Carol Ritchie, and Carol is now Barbara. And so they just switched computers so that we could have Carol on the headset. So thanks everyone for your patience with that.
Okay. All right, we went over the first half of the agenda before Barb's part of the presentation, and now we're on the coffee cup and just coming over to 7 o'clock, your learning experiences. We're going to do a little warm-up on your learning experiences. Then we're going to talk about blended learning challenges, solutions, limitations and best practices, and we'll wrap up by talking about key takeaways. And then we'll have an evaluation for you to do for us. Okay, so I'd like to invite you to start this activity by taking your pointer tool to claim a line, and then your text tool to write about your learning experience. Consider any experience you've had in your life, for example, school, college, university, workshops, lectures, or even lessons in a sport or musical instrument. You can write a brief note on your positive and negative experiences, either in the same course or a positive one from one course and a negative one from a different course. And after you've typed in, don't forget to click away once you've finished writing so that everyone can read what you've written. And I'll give you 3 minutes to do that.
Margaret, are you able to find your line? There you go, thank you.
And once again, don't forget to click away. Yep, looks like everyone's clicking away. Yeah, just
we'll give you
you just need to
give you one more minute.
You just need to type in a short phrase, and then I'm going to ask you about it, so you'll be able to talk a little bit more about it.
Oh, sorry, I wrote a short novel.
Oh, that's great. Detail-oriented. Oh man, for the next 3 hours we're going to read this textbook. That would be painful.
Yeah.
I had a prof like that in university who spoke monotone to the board.
Mm-hmm. FJ, do you have a negative experience?
FJ believes all learning experiences are good experiences. Right, FJ?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
for this one, I can't really describe that one. It's just not.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, let's start with Mike. Would you be able to tell us about your positive learning experience?
Okay, so while at Georgian College, we had a math class as a prerequisite to our computer programming classes. And the content as you could imagine, was very dry. It was very analytical, very high-level math. But Greg managed to make it very, very fun, and he included all of us in it. He provided the content in so many different ways. He recorded his lessons and posted them up on YouTube. He used Twitter to get a hold of us. I don't know. It was a very, very good class.
Yeah, he sounds like an excellent teacher.
Yeah, he's actually a faculty developer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. And what about your negative experience?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I taught myself the 16-bit assembly language, Intel's assembly language. I used their manual, but it was really, really dry, and it used really, really high-level vocabulary. So a lot of the times, I was in a dictionary looking up the terms they were using, and yeah, it was really tough.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it doesn't sound like so much fun. And what about Jason? Could you tell us a little bit about your experiences?
Certainly. So like Mike mentioned, having the engaging instructor, and I know Greg actually, and he did a conference a couple years ago, and he is outstanding. So if you ever have a chance to get with him, he's quite an engaging instructor. So that obviously helps. But the key thing for me has always been that what we're learning is relevant to and having activities that are more than just stand and deliver type lectures. Quick story on that quote there. The textbook didn't arrive in until the day of the first class. And so the instructor brought it in. It was a Saturday class for 6 hours, and we spent the first 3 hours reading the textbook. It blew me away. And actually, the instructor and I had quite a discussion after that first class, because he changed things hopefully. But I love the one I had where the right hand was writing on the notes on the board, and as he went past with his left hand, he started wiping them off, and we just couldn't keep up with his pace, and that was one that probably my best experiences of the negative learning experience.
Oh, that's so true. Brings back memories from high school.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. Yeah. You've both mentioned excellent instructors, and I think that that's something, well, we're talking about blended learning, we really have to keep in mind, because we get all excited about all these different ways and that we can learn, but at the end of the day, the person doing the teaching or instructing has to be able to find the best combination. So what about Franz-José?
For me, probably the best experience I had was my OJT, which is the qualification for my position, which is Training Development Officer. And the way the OJT was designed is that we were assigned a coach, which happens to be Jason Barb. And we had 3 documents to do, like we had a QS, a TP, we had an evaluation to do at a school. So I was able to go to a different school, the CBRN school, and meet with the instructors, ask questions, gather all the concerns and produce a document that will end up, I think, like 80 pages at the end with all the annex and everything, and to recommend. So it was all hands-on with interaction and meeting people, and then I had a coach, well, Jason, to help me to make sure that all the elements were there and it was properly written, and to basically learn what my mistakes are and then, you know, correct them. So it had every type of blending of learning experience in this, and it was very interesting. And one of the QS that I wrote later on, one of the standard officer in a different school looked at it and said, "Oh, you could have changed this," and we met again like a month later, and she helped me to better myself again. So that was probably the best experience I've ever had as far as learning and developing my skills.
That sounds like an excellent experience.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if Jason is blushing a little bit.
He's a good guy. Patient, I can tell you that.
Are you there, Jason?
Oh, we lost him.
No, very much.
No, I'm still here. Yeah,
okay. You just
I
get your coffee cup for a minute?
No, I was crawling under the table. I was embarrassed.
Jason, you're writing to all attendees, which means the host and the presenter won't be able to see it, just in case you didn't know that. All participants is who you want to write to.
It's funny, I didn't know that, so that's why, okay, so, because I said, they were okay for all persons. Okay, they were perfect, thanks.
So we need to write to all panelists?
All participants.
Uh-huh.
All panelists is only the person, the host and the person with the ball.
Okay, all participants, all right. Okay, yeah, Margaret, could you please explain about yours? I think that that laughter in the classroom is what we were just doing.
Yes, that's right. So I can relate to so many of these stories that, you know, especially erasing the blackboard, that kind of thing. I think laughter, any teacher that has the gift of making somebody feel at ease and is a safe place to learn, I think that's a great and positive learning experience. And it brings humanity. You know, we're human, so you don't have to be perfect. Perfect is not in my world. A negative learning experience is when I was taking music at one point, recorder with Miss Little. I'll never forget her, and she put me on the corner. I didn't know how to figure out the rhythms, and she made fun of me in front of the class, and I'm thinking, okay, Miss Little, that's enough. So, you know, just the feeling of being judged, not fun.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
And then I'll send you my counseling, your counseling bill for this clarifying, purifying closure.
Yeah. Excellent. So thank you, everyone, for sharing a bit about your past learning experiences. Now we're going to focus a bit more on blended learning programs, the challenges they present, and the solutions to those challenges. Okay, so imagine that you are the project manager for a course. After a needs analysis, your department has decided to use a blended learning solution. What are the challenges? What do you remember from the article you read? If you didn't read the article, you have to do your best with what you have. With your pointer tool, claim a space and then type notes into the lines. So just brief phrases, and then when we discuss it, we'll go into more detail. So consider the 3 categories of challenges listed in the chart: technology challenges, organizational challenges, and instructional design challenges. If each of you could just write 1 or 2 points. And I'll give you 2 minutes to do that.
You can't correct it.
Yeah, you have to erase. You have to, if you make a mistake, click on your eraser.
Yeah, I'm going to go erase it.
And erase that point.
It's too embarrassing. Okay,
Yeah.
erase it.
Where are the donuts? Okay, don't worry too much if you haven't written something under each of the 3 categories. Let's just have a look at what we've got. FJ, do you want to say something about catching up with technology skills?
Sure, it's a moment I'm going to finish writing this. Technology challenge for me, because I'm working in a learning technology section with all programmers and technicians. The vocabulary is just, it's just unbelievable. So I have to catch up with and learn quickly what they mean, and then I have to learn. I don't have to learn all their skills because I just have to do my role, but you still need to understand what they're doing, and it's a lot of challenge for me to take because it's more advanced. Yeah, it's more advanced technology. It's not just using Word here. This is learning management system. So for me, it's a big steep curve, but it's fun. So the organizational challenge, it's also the same thing, is the challenge to learn the new technology, because it just improve my skills and makes me more knowledgeable in on many aspects of technology, whether it's blended learning or whether it's a new learning management system or whatnot. So the challenge is to learn all this and to coordinate this, and learning the policies of the military, and learning how to behave and to act properly in such a big organization. So for me, it's a challenge there. The instructional design challenge for me is, which I am living that right now, is you can decide on a design, and you can decide, okay, we're going to do this way, and somebody else has an idea that's, could have been better than yours, and they just go ahead and change it, and you're like, oh, wait a minute here, we were ready to go, and now we're changing the design again. And so for me, the challenge in instructional design is to say, okay, this is good enough, this is acceptable, we're ready to go, we'll do another version later. Those are challenges to say, okay, what is good, what should be changed to be better, is it necessary? And so for me, that's right now, this is a challenge.
Thank you, FJ. That's one of the joys of our work, is of these constant challenges. Mike, in the interest of time, could you please just choose one of the categories and talk a little bit about the challenges you see in that category?
Yeah, I don't even think I put them in the right category. So I'd just say a challenge would be like the inability to see respondents. You can't really see like if your students are sitting there playing a game on their phone or whatever, right? So
where if you're talking about a face-to-face classroom, you can see that they're playing on their phone.
Yeah.
And Jason, what out of the challenges that you've written, what do you think is the greatest challenge?
Well, I think I'm going to go where I came from, the fact of the "where are the donuts" comments. We did a virtual session about 4 years ago where we actually had guest speakers that we normally wouldn't have been able to get from a financial standpoint to come in a live experience. There was a real stigma in the room about e-boring from e-learning, and again, it was because most of the experience was paper-based, or take the paper and put it online, so it was e-reading type thing. We were able to replicate the experience. We actually had it distributed across 10 different locations in Canada with a full day, 2 days of PD sessions, and with guest speakers that, again, we wouldn't have been able to afford to have them come live. The biggest drawback of the whole thing, people said, well, where are the donuts? We didn't get a chance to actually sit and have coffee together, and would have liked to have had that, but it wasn't possible in the virtual environment. It still to this day blows me away, but again, that was the organizational culture, and I guess there's something to be said about having donuts in the real experience. So anyways, I put that there. Yeah.
frankly, I'm glad not to have the calories. Anyway, maybe, Mike, you can work on coming up with virtual donuts.
I can do
Margaret?
that.
Margaret, what do you think is the greatest challenge?
Well, the greatest challenge, I would say, in a virtual classroom is using interactive tools and engaging every 3 to 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Joanna, if you'd like to click on the third tab, you can see that we don't have donuts, but I did bring chocolates.
Oh.
Or Barbara, you'll have to click on the third tab, I guess.
That's actually Carol.
Carol.
Pardon?
Carol.
There you go. Okay. Now that's just a tease.
So there we go. So you can bring donuts and chocolates into the virtual classroom, no problem.
My mouth is watering. Yeah. Okay. So we'll move on. I can hear some feedback from somewhere. Is someone chatting there? Like verbally chatting?
I think if FJ just muted her microphone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had to. Just a moment. I have a question here I'll just be out for a quick moment.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I have an activity here. Here are a few technology and organization challenges in blended learning. So I'm going to bring up the points on the left. Ensuring participants can be successful using the technology. And we have some of the challenges that we talked about on the previous slide. And then on the right, we have solutions for those challenges. So could you please take your pointer tool and claim 1 or 2 of the questions? So maybe, okay, Mike, you have number 1. Who claimed number 2? Whoever claims number 2, could you do 3 as well? Okay, so Jason, do number 2 and 3, and Margaret 4 and 5, because FJ has stepped out for a minute. Yeah, good, Jason. Okay, so use your arrow or your line tool to draw a line between the challenge on the left with the solution on the right.
I keep forgetting to click away.
Yeah, I did for a long time, kept forgetting to click away.
You only need to do that with the text tool. The line we can see right away.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I think they do that for the text tool so that in case you do mess up before you hit, before you click away, you can delete it.
Mm-hmm. And just a note, just because somebody else has chosen a solution doesn't mean that they're right. So something that somebody else chose might be right for you. Okay. All right. According to the article, the correct answers are for number 1, B. Don't introduce all the technologies at once. And number 2 was A. So it looks like like Jason used 2 pointers. Yeah, that makes sense. And number 3, number 3 matches up with E. Orientation is the key to overcoming resistance. And number 4, C is correct. And number 5, D. Okay. On the next slide, we have the instructional design challenges. So again, I'll bring the challenges up one at a time, looking at how to teach as well as what to teach, and choosing the best delivery medium. Making the online offerings interactive rather than just talking at participants. And ensuring follow-through and ensuring all elements of the blend are coordinated. And now we need to match up these 5 challenges with the solutions on the right. So again, yeah, Jason, if you could do 6 and 7, and Margaret, number 10, and Mike, 8 and 9.
And let me encourage you, I found during our practice session of these were challenging. It really took my brain some power to to figure these out. So don't feel bad if you're feeling that same way.
I think what it is that a lot of the solutions could be solutions for more than just one problem or challenge. So it's not cut and dried. It's not like you have one challenge and it only goes with one solution. Okay, it looks like they're all matched up. And again, according to the article, number 6 goes with H. But certainly pairing it with G, that would be a help for that challenge to create a visual course map. And number 7, according to the article, goes with F, 8 with I, to be interactive rather than just talking at participants. And Margaret and Joanna have encouraged us to have interactions in this virtual classroom every 3 to 5 minutes. In this article, she said 12 to 20 minute maximum per topic, but number 9, they've matched with J to follow through, including stringent assessments. Including stringent assessments can motivate people to follow through. And then ensuring all elements of blend are coordinated, they've matched up with G. But again, as I said, of course, there are more than one solution to every challenge, and vice versa. So thank you, everyone, for participating in this activity. And next, I'll just review some components of a blended learning program. Okay, and next I have an activity where we're going to focus on 4 of these types of components of a blended learning program. Webinars is one of them, the virtual classroom, self-paced e-learning, and face-to-face, the traditional face-to-face classroom. So we have a Jeopardy game. All right, I need to share application, PowerPoint. It'll just take a minute to load. Uh-oh. Sorry, Barb. Can everyone see the Jeopardy game on their screen and not just the front, not just the first slide?
So, yes, I can see it.
So do you want to remind them how to open their toolbar to get their participant panel back?
Okay. If you go if you go to the top, I was just waiting for everything to load. If you go to the top middle of the screen and you hover over the tab coming down, you'll see just to the right of the tab, at the top tab where it says participants. And if you click on participants, we can still see all the participants. Does everyone have that?
So why don't you give her a green check if you were able to find your drop-down toolbar and open your participant panel. So
Okay, I see Jason and Barb masquerading as Carol Ritchie. I guess Mike is with us.
Mike, can you give us a green check if you can see the Jeopardy screen? Thank you.
It's nice, yeah.
And France, are you with us again?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm going to put you in two teams. So Team A will be Jason and Mike, and Team B will be FJ and Margaret. And you can decide together. You choose. You can take turns maybe in your team choosing a dollar amount and a topic. And the 200 series is why you would use these different types of, like different methods. The 400 series is when, the 600 series is challenges, and the 800 series is best practices. Or the 600 series is limitations. Okay, so Team A is Jason and Mike. Would you like to choose one of the topics and a dollar amount?
I'll let Jason choose.
Let's start with self-paced learning for $200, please.
Self-paced learning for $200. Sorry, just give me a minute. Okay. All right. Why would you use self-paced e-learning?
Should we just like throw answers out?
Yeah. Well, you can decide together, but it's fine if you want to throw answers out.
Maybe the face-to-face is too cost prohibitive.
Okay, I should mention that there are many reasons and many options for your answers, but if you give me one good answer, then you get the points. And let's look at what they say. To deliver education to student on demand, to deliver very affordable training. So you talked about cost, and what was that, $200? So Barb is keeping score. So Jason and Mike have $200. Yay! Okay.
Let's do the answer before they do. Can we just interrupt?
No, we're gonna just take turns. Okay. I know in some Jeopardy games, if you get it right, then you get to go again. But for for the purposes of this Jeopardy game, we'll just take turns. So now it's Team B.
All right, François, so you pick this time. I'll pick the next one.
Okay. Instructor-led virtual classroom for 400.
For 400, okay. When would you use an instructor-led virtual classroom?
When your participants are spread around the country.
When travel cost is prohibited, so I think that fits. And when courses, multiple brief learning experiences over a period of time. So that was for 400. So Team B has 400 points. So it's 200 for Team A, 400 for Team B.
Booyah,
go boys.
Okay, back to Team A, Jason and Mike.
What should choose?
Mike, you go ahead and choose this time.
So self-paced learning for 800.
All right, yeah. Rack up the points now. What are the best practices for using self-paced e-learning? And either one or both of the two team members can answer. Jason has an exclamation point. Now Margaret has an exclamation point.
You don't need to mention that.
Oh, but what's that mean? Oh, yikes!
Can we just answer that one, or
yeah,
who's been chosen to answer here?
They might have just stepped away from the session for a second.
No, I was just Googling the answer, and I forgot the exclamation mark comes up when you go away.
When you go away. Yeah. Okay.
So who's answering that one?
Yeah.
The voice.
Okay. What we'll do then is Mike, do you have any answers, or should we pass it to Team B?
Identify and understand your audience.
Oh, Mike.
Nice.
Nice.
Used to provide learning quickly to a large audience. I think that fits. I think we can give them 800.
Quite.
No.
That's not what you
okay. Remember, I said if they just have 1 point, even though we have many, that's good enough.
You said you had to know your audience. We're asking best practices for self-paced e-learning. That's not the same.
What I would say for this one would be to have the email or the contact of the prof or the person who's the subject matter expert, so they could ask questions if they need to.
Yeah, that would be 1 point. Okay, do we have a referee here? No?
Barb? We'll be nice. We'll let them have it.
Yeah.
We'll play fair.
No points. Okay, Barb says 0 points. Okay, so where are we now? Team B?
Okay, so we are going to go webinar for 800, please.
Okay. What are best practices for using a webinar?
Oh, I got one.
Okay, go.
I got the answer to that one because I just lived it. When you do a webinar, you make sure that all your documents are open and ready to go so that you don't have to look for them when you do the webinar, so that it's professional. So you have to have all your documents ready. And I can add to that. I could add that you have to practice your webinar before you do it and have your speech.
Have a pause to give them a little activity to do something and then come back to the webinar.
Mm-hmm. There we go. We get 3.
Oh, yeah, you've got a lot. So let's see. I mean, I think both sounded really good. So let's see. Adopt best practices for the realm of public speaking. Encourage interaction with polling tools. All right, those are just a couple. I think that what you mentioned gets the points. So that's 800.
High five, François.
There you go. High five.
Referee? Okay, Team B. Sorry, Team A. We're back to Team A.
How about we go 600 for instructor-led classroom?
Okay, 600. What are the limitations of a traditional instructor-led classroom?
Maybe only one voice or one stage on the stage type idea, unless they've chosen to bring in a guest speaker.
Mm-hmm.
You're confined by the space of the room.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Mike, any ideas?
It's more expensive to facilitate instructor-led classroom?
Not necessarily.
Like it's cost prohibitive?
For travel, you mean people to come in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they have to.
As well as the instructor too, right?
Okay, let's see. Cost and travel time and tendency to get all the information at once, like a fire hose. I think that lecturing for 3 hours straight, a lot of information. But what do you say, referee? Okay, so they get 600. Team A will get 600 for that. And Team B?
Yeah, I think it's your go, François.
Okay, so let's do 400 webinar.
400 webinar. When would you use a webinar?
To reach an audience that is too far away to bring together, or to be able to do a simultaneous meeting without displacing anyone. So it saves costs and reach more people, reach more audience.
Do you have anything to add, Margaret?
So when would you use a webinar? I know for the scholarship workshop, we used it as a webinar because some people couldn't attend the virtual demonstration of it, and they wanted the information. So we recorded it as a webinar to give the information.
And let's see what they say. You would use a webinar for lectures, one-way communication where Q&A is not appropriate or necessary. So, referee?
I think we have better answers.
Was 400. Your answers are better than theirs. Yeah. Okay. Jason and Mike, Team A.
Here's Mike.
How about
I'd
the
say
instructor-led virtual classroom for 800?
Point. After using an instructor-led virtual classroom.
Maybe finding ways to be able to capture the visual cues that normally would be in a face-to-face classroom, but in the instructor-led virtual classroom.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's been difficult for us not being able to see each other, but maybe things like.
But you've been able to capture it through other means.
Yeah.
Yep, through other means like that.
Mike, do you have anything to add?
Including activities like 12 to 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
12 to 20 minutes. Make sure to engage.
Whoa. All right, 12 to 20. That's what they said in the other article. This one is saying 5 to 10. Yeah, and I think what Jason was talking about, using video to build, well, breakout rooms for small group work, that can help. Referee?
And the judge says?
Okay, yes. And that was for, that was 600, right? 800, right, okay. So, all right, so has every team had an equal number of chances? No, Team B. Okay, so we're gonna do one for Team B, another one for Team A, and then Team B will have another one after Team A goes again, and then we'll finish because I see that we're running out of time here. So Team B, what would you like to choose?
Okay, so you're going for 800? All right. I was going to go for virtual, but that's okay.
So you're going for 800 for instructor-led classroom? Okay. What are the best practices for using a traditional instructor-led classroom?
Set up beforehand.
Interactive activities.
Interactive activities. Make sure that you're including activities for everybody. Let's see.
Let's see what they say. Highly interactive group exercises. It sounds like you covered that. Yep. And of course, minimize heavy content lectures. So 800 for Team B. And now for the last round, Team A, your final question.
Let's go with instructor-led virtual classroom for 600, please.
Okay. What are the limitations of using an instructor-led virtual classroom?
That's too easy for him.
No.
I couldn't test.
Mike, your thoughts?
You can't visually see the respondents, so it's difficult to manage them. Like they could be distracted and you're not really sure.
Oh, that was good.
Maybe location can be a challenge, especially for some of our remote northern parts of Canada where bandwidth is really limited. This can be, I don't know if that, like, so tech could be a challenge.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what they say. Requires reliable communications with reasonable bandwidth, and nonverbal communications are diminished. So, yeah. The referee says that to go for 600 points.
Wow, they should get their 800s back that they 800 that they lost because they got those bang on.
Yeah. Okay, and Team B, your final question.
You go ahead and choose.
All right, so I'm going to say webinar for 600, please.
Okay, what are some limitations of using a webinar?
Computer accessibility, IT accessibility, quality audio. Anything else I shall say?
I would see the line, but whether or not it's the bandwidth, depending on what you're presenting on the webinar, you got to make sure that you don't have a slow system.
Yep.
What do they say? Oh, poor support of highly collaborative interactions and small group work. But
well, that depends how you design
it. The referee is saying no. Are you serious?
That is not an answer. I'm sorry, I can't tell that one. It depends on how you put your webinar together.
Yeah. Okay, referee, do we have a final total?
Don't forget you're muted, Carol.
Am I muted?
Or sorry, Barbara.
Wait, yeah, that's not me, that's Barb. I just unmuted Barb.
Okay. And despite me taking away points from Team B at the last minute, they won with 2,400. And let's see if I can add right. And Team A got 2,200.
Oh,
congrats!
The woman won. The woman won over the man.
I think the referee needs to read the rule book.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Game.
I'm going to stop sharing. So I just stopped sharing, so that takes us back to our original screen. And of course, there are many answers to these questions. I think that the point to remember is that we can use the limitations of one and supplement the program with the strengths of another one, and this is what's so good about blended learning. Okay, so to wrap up, does anyone have any questions, or would you like to make any comments? Anyone?
Bueller.
You guys did a great job. Well done.
Thank you. Do you have any aha moments? Anyone? What stood out to you about blended learning?
I thought you did a great job of using the breakout rooms to be able to get us to have an opportunity, especially with the icebreaker at the beginning. Excellent use of having interactions within every 5 minutes or so. Great pace. I mean, it was a 2-hour session, but didn't feel like it at all. So that's pretty amazing when you think about that, especially because most online sessions, once you're in a one-way webinar, within 15 minutes you're bored out of your skull. So that was fantastic to be able to integrate that. So well done on that regard. So no, I think you nailed it on the head with regards to showing a great example of how to use a webinar platform in a virtual classroom. So I was quite impressed.
Thank you so much, Jason. That's great feedback.
Well, you
Anyone
gave
else?
me an idea. Sure.
Yeah.
You gave me an idea with the blended learning, because as we are designing the new training for the DLN LMS system, I was thinking, okay, since we could put, in order to get each other to help learning and how to use the system, we're going to put it all in the learning portal, but we could put a section in there for the comment and dialogue or discussion for them to help each other out to learn. So we don't have to be the sole people training, but they can actually train each other. So the way you presented your first part, it gave me an idea that new ways of doing things on the learning portal for the learning management system to alleviate the weight on training and support for the help desk.
Yeah, that's great, FJ. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So once more, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate your participation, and we hope that you either learned or reviewed something today that you might be able to share with others and use in the future. And now Margaret and Joanna are going to help us with the evaluation.
All right, well, thank you everybody for joining today. A big round of applause to Barbara and Carol. You all know how hard it is when things sort of start rocky to get back in, but they did it, and I so agree with you that it doesn't feel like 2 hours. They were so engaging and wonderful, so thank you all for your patience for those first few moments as we sorted it all out. So in your chat box, you'll find a link to a survey that we'd like you to complete. It's just a couple of questions, and it will give us feedback on the class today, as well as some information just about virtual programming. And you can just click on the link and it will open in a separate browser, so that once you open it and start it, you can close out of your the WebEx class separately. And this wraps it up. This was their final project for the continuing education course, Live to Virtual. So great job, Barb and Carol, for being such amazing troopers and facilitators today. It was excellent. So thanks everybody for coming. Click on the link to SurveyMonkey in the chat box, and then you're feel free to exit out of the session as you see fit.
Great.
What I really
Thanks everybody, and thank you to Margaret and Joanna as well.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Trainers and facilitators and support there. Thank you.
What I really liked about it is the theory about the blended learning. I never, you know, I took the course 3 years ago where I went through that, but it's a great refresher to think about really so many different ways that you can engage and interact with your participants.
Really wonderful. And Barb and Carol, if you just want to stay on for just a minute as people are leaving. And so great job, and I know it was very a little rocky start, but you did it. You came through.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll just wait as everybody pops off the class.
I'm still doing the survey, and I have to get back to do the other just a second. Here, I'll leave the classroom. Okay.
And I think it's the end of the day for you as well, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Yeah, so this is the way to end your Friday. Get this stressful thing done and go into your weekend. And all right, ladies, wonderful job. I know that first 10 minutes probably felt excruciating, but you did it and you came through it, and wow, what professionals you are, what pros you are. So wonderful job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had just said to Margaret yesterday in that after session email that we had, I said, you know, I was up at 5 a.m. to attend that session, and it didn't feel like 2 hours. And if it's ever going to feel like 2 hours, that would have been the time. And so I love the engagements. I said it yesterday, one of my favorite final projects that we've had. It was so great.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so how do you guys feel? It's done. How do you feel?
Well, I just, this is just my personality, but when we started having the technological problems, and it just kind of got worse and worse with Carol's end, what happens to me is because I don't have the back-end experience yet to really troubleshoot, I was just like, my brain was kind of shutting down there, so I'm glad that you guys were there. But yeah, just to watch how that had to be troubleshooted, if that's a word, and how we had to, you know, go to the phone and then switch, and always have a backup to your backup to your backup.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. How about you, Barbara?
I'm Carol.
That was Barb, Carol.
Because don't forget, we switched laptops, so
that's right.
Her voice is coming out of mine, and vice versa.
When it rains, it pours,
yeah.
Right, ladies?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that wasn't ideal.